Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Thursday, December the 15th. Let me begin by saying everything you hear here today is true, I think. I'm prompted to say this by the fact that Facebook, the giant social media operation, has announced steps it's going to take to try and stop the proliferation of use of its website to disseminate fake news. You know, the fake news stories that were said to have had a lot of influence in the recent presidential election. They're going to cooperate with some legitimate news organizations and fact-checking organizations and provide a way to at least put some warnings on Facebook pages when challenged stories appear, and perhaps move them down the line in your news feed on Facebook. This might be useful. Of course, somebody might complain that this Facebook feed is fake news, and then what will we do? Will we get moved down the line? I don't know. You know, in all seriousness, I'm not entirely sure how well this would work. We're off a presidential election in which it was proved time and again that facts don't matter, and I don't say that bitterly. Donald Trump could say something one day, say something totally different the next, and it didn't seem to move his base voters very much, any more than what scientists had to say about climate change and other controversial things. But to the extent that there's a little bit of editing that goes into the process, perhaps that's a good thing. Back closer to home today, the Arkansas Supreme Court adopts some changes in the rules that govern the Code of Judicial Conduct, what is right and not right for candidates for public office and for sitting judges to do. One significant change is that they did acknowledge that campaign contributions might be something a judge should take into account in considering whether they should or should not get off a case. They didn't set any baseline amount at which it's a subject of concern, but they will at least acknowledge that campaign money might present an appearance of ill as far as impartiality is concerned when a judge sits on a case. Recently, a Supreme Court Justice, Rhonda Wood, who received the majority of her campaign money from nursing homes, declined to get off a nursing home case that involved one of her major benefactors. She said it was too much time had passed, it was no longer important. Others might think otherwise. At the state capitol today, at the state education department, the Charter School Advisory Review Committee in the education department gave its customary quick approval to continued charter school permits, 13 years for the Lease Academy in Little Rock and a 3-year extension for the Little Rock Preparatory Academy. The Little Rock Prep approval comes on the fact that the school has never achieved anything close to proficiency in according to test scores and achievement by its students. The school says it's making changes, it's vowing to do better, it's going to do a lot more for its kids. It does serve a population of poor minority children which are hard to reach, and they're trying to do good work in reaching those kids. The problem that I see is a double standard. The Little Rock School District, where 42 of its 48 schools are succeeding, was taken over by the state for some lapses by some schools that, like Little Rock Prep, serve a class of student that is harder to reach, poor minority children. And they do it better than Little Rock Prep, but the state took over the Little Rock School District. They seem to be resistant to taking over charter schools. Having that in your name seems to mean a lack of accountability. Here's some good news for Christmas shoppers. The Little Rock police said today that a woman arrested earlier this week for some parking lot robberies out in Chenal Valley also seems to have been the person responsible for some Park Plaza shopping mall robbery incidents. Maybe it's safe to go to the go to the shopping malls again in time for Christmas. Only got a week to go. News of the New York Times today says that Democratic attorney generals around the country are going to do what Republican attorney generals have done for the last several years and sue every chance they get to get in the way of the Donald Trump presidential agenda. That's what Attorney General Leslie Rutledge of Arkansas has done with other Republicans around the country. She spent her time suing all over the country against environmental rules, against civil rights for gay people, against abortion, all other matter, against Planned Parenthood, that sort of thing. Not spending much time tending to local knitting, however. She's so far still refused to do anything about the return of payday lending in Arkansas. And just this week, Wesley Brown of Talk Business reports she's still declining to get into a federal court case challenging the state statute that makes it a crime not to pay rent. For some reason or another, she doesn't want to get into this case. The law has been found unconstitutional in some lower courts. Leslie Rutledge is staying out of it. Too busy challenging gay rights laws that protect people in the state of Washington, I guess. Look tomorrow for a controversy at the state capitol. The legislative committee is going to review a contract to give an out-of-state organization a $22 million contract to run local regional centers that serve to hold as detention centers for troubled youth. A variety of local agencies have been handling that business for about $9 million less. The contract, the local agencies say, doesn't begin to provide all the things that the local agencies provide. They want to know why the Hutchinson administration wants to spend more money to bring in an outsider to do it. The legislature may not go along, but the administration may force the issue and go ahead and do it on an emergency basis anyway. Could be a test of a new constitutional amendment on legislative review prerogatives. That's something to watch tomorrow. Finally, another interesting note, what's a day without some Donald Trump news? Vanity Fair, the splashy magazine, gave a devastating review of the restaurant of the Trump Grill in Trump Tower, one of Trump's many properties. Said it was just an awful place, everything from bad steaks to bad drinks. Well, that prompted a blistering response from Donald Trump on his Twitter account about failing Vanity Fair and failing Graydon Carter, the editor, and how they're doomed because of being such an awful place. You know, all this would be kind of funny, except to have the President of the United States, or at least the soon-to-be President of the United States, getting on Twitter about a restaurant review. Doesn't that devalue the office maybe just a little bit? Anyway, that's my thought. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.